Cradle, The Rise of the Chosen, Chapter 16, Part 1. The king and queen stood in front of the low pallet with the bars of gold stacked neatly and gleaming almost fuzzily in the orange light of the royal treasury vault. Aside from the gift of gold, Takuma had never seen such riches in one place in his life. Litul, Goshniolu, this is insane, Takuma exclaimed. Yuti, Oye, Niti, what do you think this means? Gianoa asked. Takuma thought in silence for a few moments. Goti, Yo, Will, Adrel. I say we wait and see how this develops, he answered. Ayatumal, I think you're right. Well, Kijoi Tati Rimba. Did you find Crown Rimba odd? She asked. Since Vinti, absolutely, he answered and burst out laughing. Kum, Gentle, Ayotu. This is serious business, Takuma, Gianoa said, and slightly annoyed. Takuma straightened out quickly out of respect rather than fear. Timnu, Izul, Ituyil, Dorino, Uru, Iopio. Of course, but it already happened, so we'll see what happens, Takuma responded. She gave him a last lingering look and then stared back at the gold and rested her chin on her palm, making Takuma a bit turned on, but he knew which moments were the correct ones. Then she threw up her hands and shrugged. Hio mal, let's go get something to eat, she said frustratedly. Her black hair fluttered in the breeze, and he knew why he cared so much for his pledge, for his sindua. The circular brunch table was dressed with a flowing white tablecloth and was spread with a perfect Ayuman meal of olives, crackers, pita, hummus, apples, and pears. Takuma was looking beyond the beige beach to the blue sea and appreciated the moment despite the thought of kudos roaming in his attention. He'd been avoiding his Duliman because he didn't want him in any more danger. Minotu, I'm worried. Changa, things are too good, Gianoa expressed. Get the heck out of my head, honey, Takuma remarked. Sioti, Ayoi, Josh. I think we should call Josh, she said. Takuma shook his head and thought, Niti, Hazi, I don't want to bother him. Gianoa nodded absently in thought. Oye, Lord, oye. You know what? Takuma began. Really, Etwao, Fino, Dindoni. We should spend a little and see what happens. Gianoa nodded slightly again. Kinu, a book. Huh? Asked Takuma. Priol, Siema, Josh, Gioli. Well, people need to know about Josh. Jitudili, Rimba, Binu, Josh. Crown Rimba is interested in Josh. Louis, Hin, Ibi, Josh, Yeri. If we make a book about Josh, it's harmless bait, Gianoa laid out her thoughts. This time Takuma nodded in thought. He got distracted by the blue rolling waves for a moment and drank some Jiku apple juice and winked at the queen. They were in the wardrobe studio of the east wing of the official palace building, where the business matters of the kingdom and the auxiliary departments, or most of them, resided. There were white bust mannequins lining the large slate sills in front of the massive arched windows looking out to Tipu Beach. The beach was always kept private for security reasons, and also Gianoa liked to go out there and think undisturbed. There were about 5 large white tables in the front row of those large windows, and her and Takuma occupied the middle table, where Gianoa had accumulated a significant scattering of papers, notebooks, pencils, pens, erasers, markers, and numerous books for reference. She was leaning on the table with her hands spread on either side of the sheets of paper she'd been brainstorming on. Pilogi, Yuig, and Juye. So we have the first 3 chapters. Minti, Fujua, Mituyi Soli, Kilekuye. His history, his mission, and what's at stake, she listed. Juni Kulmin. Maybe that's all you need, Takuma suggested. Gianoa initially gave her husband a cross look and then softened in a sort of quasi-consideration. Diol explained. Pituk Ginot Fifuli. Look, he's already a confusing person. Oyolium Haji. That's our fault, by the way. Olio Jimmy Duiji Eyu Bienil. We keep it simple, get the message across, less blowback, he explained. It seemed like Gianoa agreed, but her face was still conflicted. Lupo, Aole, I know you want to do more. Juiki, Sioli, Kumi, Neat. This is the beginning. We're testing the water, Takuma explained. Puyut? What about time, she asked. Takuma understood her immediately. Know it to me. Tuoli. Didn't seem like he was in a rush. Hifuli buoni. He was eating with us. Siji, walking around. Yiguhiji, cracking jokes, Takuma offered. Gianoa grabbed a sheet of paper with minimal writing on it and quickly jotted down notes in the dark black ink of an expensive, probably royal stock pen. She sighed, threw down the pen, and then pulled the pink cushioned chair with pillow arms and plopped down, seating herself for the first time in about an hour. Takuma glanced behind his wife and suddenly saw that Josh was seated in one of the chairs next to one of the other work tables, and he put a finger to his lips and shook his head. Gianoa noticed that Takuma was looking at something, so she turned around to see what it was, but then after a moment she turned back and asked, Fijuji, see something interesting? This totally confused Takuma for the moment, and when he looked back up to see if Josh was still there, and he was, then his Itoriyama heated up and he knew. Yuntili Sidi Itoriyama, your eyes are shining a little bit, she said. Poli? Really, he asked. Hijimal, what are you seeing? Tishu, Amanuol, the question is what you're seeing, he responded. Rietuli, what the hell is that supposed to mean? She asked, getting a little impatient. She looked over her shoulder again and then turned back to look at her husband. Josh crossed his arms, draped in a cloak, and nodded approvingly as if Takuma got what the point was. Jinul, Hijul. No disrespect, honey. Tufij, Idi. If you want to make this book, Dinu Sama Josh, Iriti, Yuol Nili. Shouldn't you be focusing on Josh rather than the situation surrounding this? Takuma asked. Utili Jamil. You don't think I know that? She snapped back. Hiju, Niti Noti, Hirfiri. Honey, I'm not judging you. Diuil, I just Sumu Itriyama ni. My eyes are bright now for a reason, Takuma explained. For some reason, she was dumbfounded, so Takuma stood up immediately and walked to her and leaned in and kissed her. At first, she wasn't responding completely, but then their passion was shared, and they lost themselves in each other for several moments.